Have you ever been asked by your professor to show quantitative or qualitative research within your paper? Well, in this video, I'll explain the differences between the two. Welcome to the Newman Library's Research Reels. We're here to help you achieve academic success. First, let's go ahead and start with the differences between quantitative and qualitative research. Quantitative research typically has a purpose to discover a causal relationship or relationships, or it can describe a phenomenon. The sample size will usually be random and large, and the data will be represented by tests, surveys, and questionnaires. You will also see characteristics such as descriptive, comparative, correlation, and exploratory. These are some keywords to look for if you're looking for quantitative research. On the other hand, we have qualitative research, which is usually represented by the purpose of understanding a phenomenon. This sample is usually purposeful and small, and you'll usually see that the data is contained within a focus group. You'll also see things such as interviews and field observations. And some characteristics you'll notice are things such as grounded theory, case studies, historical and narrative research, and of course, clinical research. Again, these might be some keywords to help you later on when you're looking for qualitative research. Now that you know the differences, how do you know which one to use? If your goal is to confirm a test, a theory, or hypothesis, you might want to use quantitative research. But if you are trying to understand or explore an idea, qualitative research might work better for your goals. So what are some of the pros and cons of these methods? Let's start with quantitative. Some of the pros that we have is that the data is objective and the results can be clearly communicated with numbers with very little room for bias. And you also gain quick results with data computing software. However, some of these things that make it great also have some downsides. An example such as this would be that the data makes it more restrictive, and you can't add context to the data. Additionally, it usually requires you to have a large sample size, which can sometimes make these types of papers harder to find when you're searching. Now, let's go ahead and talk about qualitative research. Some of the pros that you'll find in qualitative research is that it has creativity and the interpretations can be varied, which therefore allows the qualitative articles to provide more flexibility in their research and findings. However, some of the downsides to qualitative research is that because the results are open to interpretation, this means that the results are subjective and can be open to bias and other interpretations. And they typically result in a higher cost in order to conduct the research, as well as having a smaller sample size. Now that you know the differences and the pros and cons between the two research methods, which will you choose? Have an answer? Go ahead and follow along to either of the next videos to learn how to navigate the library resources to find quantitative or qualitative articles. And have a great day.